Okay. Wait for some people. I'm gonna sit. That's all I can. Or maybe not. It's a weird stool. Why is it so weird? I don't know. Okay. Tambourine! Okay. Alright. For those of you who don't know, I use Black Swamp tambourines because they're cool, and I just like these a lot. For many reasons. Mainly because the feel of them, I feel like the way they are made is just very natural to my body and my hand. The sound is really what I picture, especially now, what I picture a tambourine to sound like. Especially just single notes, like it just sounds great. So yeah. So I have a couple of these. I have a Chronium, and let's see, Chronium German Silver, Chronium Copper, and I used to have like a copper one. I think it was either copper or bronze, but I ended up selling it to a friend, a student, old student of mine, because they needed a tambourine. So what I did, I crimped the jingles so they wouldn't be as wet, because I find that tambourine is really, really a wet tambourine. So I crimped some of the jingles so it'll be a little bit more articulate, and that's cool. Okay, I don't know why I started talking about that, but I like these tambourines because they're cool. So yeah. So I don't know if people have seen the Black Swamp video I did on tambourine, where I explain like my whole arm weight thing. It's like a crash course in how I play tambourine. And I started taking lessons about tambourine when I was in high school with Patsy Dash and Douglas Waddell. And that was my first introduction to the instrument. So we learned how to hold it correctly, which I'll talk about, and how to strike it in different ways, in different forms. Knee, fist thing, which I rarely do these days. I don't know. I haven't done knee fists in a long time. So that's just me though. Okay, so how I hold it. It's really simple. Whichever hand you hold the tambourine in, just make sure it's super loose and super relaxed. Take your first finger and just like stick it out like that. Cool. First finger, and just do that. Cool? That's number one. All right. Then what I usually do, I just open my hand so you could do one of these things. Should be super, and you want to make sure you're super relaxed in your shoulder, your upper arm, and your forearm, even though like you're doing this. Cool. Maybe you do it on a mat or something if you feel so inclined, just if you drop it, you don't break it. But I like taking risks, so. Okay. And then what I do, let's see if I can show you this. I put it on the back of my, like I just kind of scoop it up like that. Like I do one of these. And I put it on the back of my wrist. So see if you can see that. Cool. So you have the first finger, like that holds it, and then I scoop it up with the back of my hand. And notice that I can do this without having any tension at all, like in any other finger. Like my other fingers can just just hang. So really it's just my first finger with the pressure to keep it from falling, obviously, right? Cool. And then all you got to do after that is just put your other fingers around comfortably. So for most people, they like putting either one finger or two fingers there. I like putting two fingers there. and then I'll have my pinky just exactly like where my first finger was, and just the opposite. Cool. So, and then the thumb, depending on the size of your thumb, you can either have it directly in front, like in the middle, so you have that straight line, which is where I like turn. Cool. Or I know some people's thumbs are shorter, so their thumbs can come up here. Which in that case, if that happens, yeah, I can't exactly say what would happen because my hand isn't that small. But yeah, you'll figure it out. Cool. So that's how you hold it. And then you should be able to, like, if you have a loose wrist, you should be able to do that. If it's too tight, especially in the fingers, you get like that kind of sound instead of a cool. Too tight, loose. That's what you want. Cool. All right. Then, yeah. So the way I hold it, I usually hit the tambourine on the bottom. Cool. Then I can move in that way for the center. I never really play in the center though. It's like snare drum. I don't really play in the center because it's a dead spot, like a node. So I play like off center. If you play on a Black Swamp, you know where center is. So I play off center. Although, again, I don't really play there either. I just kind of keep everything like in this area. I want to hear some of the frame and the jingles in the head. Cool. Yeah. So that's how I hold it. And again, you want to keep all of this super loose. Okay. Let's see. Places of pressure that you can add. If you need more pressure, like where would you need it? Like if you're doing a doing that, you'll need to add certain areas of I guess stiffness or thickness. I guess I like thinking of things in like thick, thin, more energy, less energy, instead of like stiff or more force or things like that. Just different quality words and quality characteristics that don't inspire tension. So I say more energy and more the other word I used thick. So for this kind of thing, you want to still have a loose wrist so it can and at some point, just like in rolls, you'll have to add some pressure or thickness to the fulcrum. So depending on what your grip is, the fulcrum for me personally is my thumb and first finger, just like snare drum. That's my fulcrum. So I'll add a little bit of pressure there. And if you remember, that's where the main pressure is. And if you remember what I was saying about where I hold the tambourine, the other place where you're holding the frame is the pinky. Okay? So if you start feeling that this side is too loose and you need to add a little bit of thickness or pressure there, then you can do it on this finger. I wouldn't really do it with the middle two, mainly because of two reasons. Here adds a lot of pressure that affects, for me, affects this line, and I try to avoid adding too much pressure there because it can like hurt. So I try not to add too much pressure there. Also with the tambourine, if you add pressure there and they're on the head, you'll push on the head and it'll raise the tone. Cool. Yeah. You can do it, but I'm always about efficiency and less, as less tension as possible, okay? So definitely no tension in the wrist, keeping it loose. And if you need to add pressure, add it in the fulcrum, as little as you need. And if you need a little bit more support, there you go. You need more support, add it to the pinky. Cool. I tend not to do that just because I don't need it as much. I usually go for the fulcrum, thumb and first finger. Now, when you use the forearm, places to avoid is directly in the middle of the elbow. I don't play from there at all. I try to avoid this muscle or that tension spot as possible. I try to avoid it. I try to add it on this side of the muscle because for me it's connected to the upper arm more, so I can kind of flex my upper arm to give it a little bit. And you'll notice when you use that muscle, it's directly in line with the thumb, so you'll feel that line of connection, or the pathway of connection, as I say. So that's why I use that fulcrum, because it is linked to that pathway of connection in this position. In this position, you'll find it on the opposite side. Cool? It's in the book. Okay. Yeah. So that's how I hold it. Let's see. Striking the instrument. Now you can use any finger. Maybe not your pinky, just because that's a little weird. But if that's the way you play, then you could do that. But you can use any combination. The most common that I've done is the thumb underneath the middle finger, and everything else just kind of like flaps or supports it in some way. So, and it's basically a wrist stroke, just like a snare drum. So just take your snare drum grip and just flex your fingers out, and that's what it will be. And then you can do it like this with the thumb on the side. And if you do that, you'll feel like it's kind of going a little bit like that, even though it's not. Like it's kind of a glancing motion, which has a nice sound to it. Cool. I kind of like that. Okay. For me, I like a lot of articulation, so I put all of my energy into the middle finger. Cool. And if I need a little bit more punch, I'll add my first finger. And then I'll put my thumb on the side. Now, I call this the jackhammer. It's basically, so for super loud things, I use my forearm just like I would use it in a roll. So you have this, what's his name? Ted Atkiss or Alan Abel would call the chicken wing, because it looks like a chicken. Cool. So I would do that. Jackhammer. Be careful, because if you do too much down, you'll go through the head. So you need to lift. Think more up instead of down. I'm not going to do it. Vadim Karpanos has a really crazy hands, so he can do that pretty well. I can't do that as well as he can. I gotta practice. But it kind of fades out after the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then the 6 is kind of like, so yeah. That's why I do the molar stroke, because you can. Okay, now I'm getting into a rant. Okay, so yeah, so striking the instrument, you got the wrist and the fingers, we talked about that. Cool. You got any different combinations. You also have the fist. That I don't really use my wrist as much, just because like it's a little hard. So and also I don't really like do fast passages with it, just because like it doesn't really work for me. But you can do it. It's just the balance is weird. And if you do this, you can feel it. The balance is really weird. And also because your fingers are closed in this position, like I would suggest if you're doing this, extending your arm more. In this position, it feels too constricted. So if you're going to do it, like extend your arms more, like that, instead of here. Because here, like it doesn't, for me personally, it doesn't really work. I feel like it's too tense, so I would extend my arm to do what my fingers would do. So in this position, it would be there, so I would just kind of move my arm there instead of like, so I would move it up like that at the very least. So cool. See, you see where I'm going with that? Okay. So yeah. And then the other thing is you want to make sure the shoulder's loose. And I use the entire weight of my arm. So if you want to practice that, maybe turn the tambourine over and then just like, maybe not. Basically, just do this and let your arm fall. And that's how much weight you should have available. Maybe not use all the time, because obviously if you're going to do that, you're going to like hurt yourself. But basically you want that feeling of just, and then you make the, cool. You should see my old teacher. Mark's shoulder is like moving like crazy. It's like great. So yeah, so I have all of that available to me. Like if I had nothing going on, you see that. That's how much weight I have available to me, all there. Cool. If I had to do that. So yeah, so weight of my arm, the fulcrum there, wrist, and I use my forearm a lot to take the hand to the tambourine. So I'll just do that a couple times. So my wrist isn't doing anything; it's just flopping from the molar stroke. Cool. Obviously, you can't do that for everything, but if I have a single note, cool, flop, 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 flop. Cool. Then you just do that without the shoulder, and just do it with the forearm. Same thing, just lifting the forearm up, and there's your jackhammer. Cool. Then you do the same thing but with the wrist and having the weight of the forearm. Now, what you can do, again, to engage that, you'll feel the engagement on the outside there. Again, I don't use that. Like, I stay away from this. Okay? I stay away from this. Okay? Don't use that. Focus on the muscle around. Okay? And again, it will be in line. Cool. Oh, yeah, in this position again. In this position with it turned over, you'll feel the alignment on the inner side of your form. Okay, don't go on the outer side. In this position, it flips around. Okay, because the forearm is out there. Cool. You'll feel, if you do this, you'll feel the like the inside being tense. Like you'll feel that constriction. And on this side, you'll feel that the outside being constricted, okay? So that's why I focus on inner side as my energy engagement, and then the outer side as my energy engagement, because those feel looser than, so, cool? Great. Okay, so, things to think about, I would probably start with just doing that like a downstroke, like just feeling a relaxed stroke, and then doing it with the forearm, and then doing it, cool, and then adding a lift. And again, this has to be loose, okay? This has to be loose, or else you're gonna get that crunch. And also, if you see, you should see that. Cool. Rebound. That's your rebound. And again, I'm not doing, that's the tambourine doing, literally, Mark, when Mark was teaching me, he was like doing this to my tambourine hand, being like, "You have to loose it up." So I'm like, "I thought I was loose." And then he would come over and play my tambourine. He's like, "Loosen up." It's like, that's it, okay. Story over. So I would start off with single notes, really getting a nice quarter note sound. Downstroke, doing all the stroke types, taps. And once you find a sound and find a weight, you need to really, a weight as in a weight of the arm, you need to really pay attention to what it sounds like so you can recreate it, and also pay attention to what you did physically, okay? Other thing is make sure your lower back is relaxed so you're not like holding yourself up to play tambourine. Don't go like, "Oh, I'm a tambourine player," Cool. Then doing eighth notes, continuous motion. And when you do that, you want to make sure you have the same weight, okay? I missed one. You hear that? Cool. Then, as you start increasing speed, you need to add more wrist. And then, again, you'll notice, I would suggest you just play it on a drum first, see what muscles are engaged when you do it with the stick, and then do it with the finger without the stick to feel the same engagement with the muscles, okay? That'll be your guide for when you need to do it on tambourine. With tambourine, you might need to add a little bit more energy in that engagement, just because for some people it might turn out to be like that, a little bit whip, instead of that. And again, I'm a really articulate player, so that's the sound that I go for. Because this sound, like 20 feet away, might sound like that. Instead of, cool? So that's why I add a little bit more articulation. And then the faster you go, the more energy you need. And then you like figure out the motion that'll, you figure it out. For me, a lot of molar stroke. So that, for those of you watching online, that's the first one. And then that's the pret. Just like snare drum. And then, for that I might change. Basically, Vadim does that. Okay. Then you have all these extended techniques. We can talk about that later. Okay. What else? Yeah. I would do stick control. Oh, the other thing is I would probably play this as open as possible, just so you can hear all the tone changes with your playing. Like the more overtones you hear, the closer to the edge you'll be. Yeah, you hear instead of that fundamental, you hear that. And I feel like tambourine is a very bright instrument anyway, so I try to kind of go for that sound, but I don't go all the way to the edge. I kind of go like there, so you can still hear tone. So I try to balance the fullness with the overtones. You ever thought about overtones in tambourine? That's also why, like, even though I have a ton of muffling on it, like, you still hear. This is my dry tambourine. That's the other thing. I have a tambourine that's like super open with a very little muffling on it because I like that open sound. But if I need a really dry tambourine, this is the one I go for. But you can still hear the head. So, personal preference. I guess we could talk about that too. Let's see, extended, rolls. With rolls, I would definitely practice them. First of all, I feel like rolls, you usually practice rolls like, doing like 8 notes, then triples. The thing about that is, I want to make sure if you do this, like if you do it that way, you want to make sure that you're not engaging the forearm muscles. Like you want to be as relaxed as possible. If you're engaging them, you'll get this, you get that like more chicky sound instead of, like you want to go for a very open sound. So just hear that's that sound, and that's the sound you want. So yeah, as you play as the roll gets faster, for me personally, the energy goes further towards the wrist, whereas where I'm playing slow, it's really in the back. Like, so when I'm playing slow, like you see almost like my arm doing this, because the energy I'm using is from here. As it gets faster, you see it go. So I'll do it like this. So you see the engagement of the back of the arm. So you hopefully you saw that. It kind of went fast, but again, sorry. There we go. So I'm feeling like my shoulder engaged with that. As it gets faster, and again, where that is coming from is the radius ulna turn, not this. So again, you want to avoid that, because that's where it's most common that you're going to want to move. And again, I just avoid it because for me it causes a lot of pain. And that, I don't know anything about carpal tunnel things, but like I try to avoid it. So I haven't had any problems with my playing at all, except for some physical things. I could talk about that later. But in my hands, I've never had tendonitis, and I've never had carpal tunnel, because I know to avoid those spots of energy at all costs. So I try to just not engage my wrist and just focus on the radius ulna turn. Cool? So I would just do this a bunch of times, like wave at somebody. Like you're trying to get a key or a doorknob. And I would just practice this. And as you get further up, you'll feel the energy from here going up to there. And I would focus on the spots that are connected to the thumb, just because like we all are using our thumb and first finger at some level. So I would focus on the thumb, and that's where I kind of turn from. Or at least that's where I focus on with my radius ulna. So I focus on turning that. And not like the backside. If you read the book, you'll see why I do that. Cool. Oh, let's see. Somebody asked a question. What do you use to drive the sound material-wise? Oh, sorry. So I have moleskin, but Artifact Percussion just came out with tambourine muffles that are like gels that are like replaceable adhesive. So I was going to try those, and they have a demonstration on Instagram for those. Are you still online, by the way? Sorry if I took too long to answer. But yeah, so they have a adhesive, like a little. They have 3 sizes: one little one, medium, and a large. So they have a demonstration on Instagram. So Artifact Percussion has something for that reason. Before that, we all use moleskin. As you see, I took a lot of liberties with that. So yeah, I was going to try those actually. So thanks for asking. The other way you can dry up the sound is to crimp the jingles, so like slightly bending them. The thing about that is once you bend them, then you can't really undo that. Like you can undo it, but the sound will still change. So if you're gonna do that, I would suggest doing like literally just one half of a jingle and seeing what that sounds like and seeing if that's something you want to add to this color. Maybe find also if you have like an extra like beat tambourine to practice crimping them with, probably do that first. Yeah, and what I would do, because I've done it a couple times, I would probably start with only doing half. If I'm really set on doing that, I'd probably do like 1, 2, and like half of each one. So I would do half, 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 and see what that sounded like, and I would just go like that, half, 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 half. Or you could, if you want to do it even smaller, then do like 1, 1, and then see what it sounds like. 1, 1, see what it sounds like. Cool. So yeah, moleskin, artifact percussions, tambourine things, and crimping jingles. That's how I drive this out. Yeah. What else? What was I talking about before that? Oh, rolls. Yeah. Okay. So yeah. Oh, another thing you can practice, because again, I really what are you featuring? Who are you featuring tomorrow? Oh, I don't know yet. Cool. Oh, I know. I'll feature them tomorrow. I have a friend from my childhood days that I should feature tomorrow, I think. Okay, cool. So another thing, back in 2 summers ago, probably 2 summers ago now, you see me doing this. Like, if your wrist and hand is loose, doing this, should be easy, quote unquote. Cool. So that's just to make sure your arm is relaxed, because especially in the joints, the only thing that's moving is this. So you just wave to everybody. Cool. Same thing. Cool. Maybe don't do that for too long, because that's a stretch. In this position, that's a stretch on the back of your shoulder, so maybe don't use that with caution. But if you know your body, you can do it with, all you gotta do is, what happens, okay. I'll stop. You get the idea. Cool? Once you figure out how to loosen up the shoulder and arm, all that stuff, then I would do the 16 thing. Then I practice going backwards. That's your upstroke. So down, up, down. Ooh. Haven't done that in a long time. So I would do that kind of stuff. And again, with shakes, I still focus on turning from that area, because that's where my fulcrum is. So really, honestly, I'm just doing that. And everything else is really not doing much. I mean, you get like that kind of thing if you want, but but I don't like doing that. that takes a lot of energy for me, so I just focus on that. Yeah. Shake rolls take time. Okay, so I would probably, honestly, even start like small, because that's the wetness you want. For me personally, I like a very wet roll. I don't want it to sound like that. Cool. Very open. Cool. Also, take your time, because again, this pressure is different than the snare drum pressure, even though it's basically the same with the same muscles. Because you're holding like that, just, you know, it takes some time to build stamina for that. So 5 minutes a day, 10 minutes a day. Tired, stop. Okay? Just stop. So you don't want to overwork that muscle. Okay, and especially because you're using your non-dominant hand more often with holding the tambourine in this way, you want to make sure you take care of that non-dominant hand and don't, like, you know, try to push through any type of fatigue or pain that you feel. Okay? Once you feel tired, stop. Okay. And honestly, you'll be able to do it longer, because if you're doing it at that speed, you're not using a lot of pressure at all. It's when you do fast rolls that you have that pressure. So, you know, you can figure out how to build endurance with that. Like, do a 4-beat roll. So 1, 2, 3, 4, stop. And then I would find out what's the longest roll you need, like how many bars, what's the tempo, and build up to that. Cool? All right, then finger rolls. I don't do thumb rolls because I never learned that way. I was taught with the middle finger because I was playing here. So I was already here. And I do finger rolls a little weird. I do the Brazilian, like, open hand thing. So, if I have a very loud roll, then I'll go all the way out here for that. Fast ones, then if I have that, I just kind of do that. I just do that kind of thing. Haven't practiced that in a long time. The other way to do it is obviously here. Cool. Yeah, the other way to do it would be. You have different options. So I would probably practice both just there. Oh, the other thing is, which just happened, and I wonder if you could see this. The thing about finger rolls, percussion can be a dangerous instrument. So you can have some injuries that are due to the technique, like blisters for mallets and things like that. So when the injury occurs, like, I haven't had a blister in a while, but obviously you have to take care of it in the proper way. One of the common things to happen with finger rolls is that the underside of the finger, we probably won't be able to see this at all, but the underside of your fingernail, you see that, like, red spot, and the other side is, like, not? It just opened. So when that happens, you have to wait for it to heal, or if you, I mean, depending on how, I mean, you know, I don't know how other people deal with it, but for me, I wait for it to heal, because obviously if you start doing it more, it keeps pulling on the skin and it opens more. So I wait for it to heal, and then it'll heal stronger. In my case, it heals stronger than the previous time. Then once it heals, then you go back, make sure it heals all the way, go back, do the finger rolls, and you're just adding endurance for that skin. Or otherwise we'd all have, like, blisters underneath our fingernails all the time, every time it heals up. So Because yeah, if I don't do this for a long time, which I haven't, I've been off in the summer, this happens again because it weakens, so it doesn't have that flex. So just opened, and I'll wait for it to heal before I do another thumb roll. So aside over. Case in point, we did the first time I went here, we did a concert where I played. I think it was Capriccio Italian. And I hadn't played tambourine that seriously in a while, so I practiced the week before, played thumb rolls. This happened because I hadn't played in a while, where the underside of the skin opened up, and so I was trying to wait it out, but we had rehearsals, so I kind of did thumb rolls until it healed. Concert comes along. And obviously, the way I play on my middle finger. Wasn't thinking at the time. You know where this is going. First note I hit, because it was a loud note, completely opens up the underside of the fingernail. And basically I have a red tambourine. So, case in point, like, take care of your body when you need to. So I'm not going to do any thumb rolls for at least a week and a half. Until it heals up. That being said, I'm about to do more finger stuff, and I'm going to avoid my middle finger. Cool? As much as I can. All right. Story over. So we talked about thumb rolls, soft ones. Oh, this is a kind of a cool thing. If you're doing thumb underneath the middle finger with soft rolls or very quiet ones, the closer. It's kind of similar to fulcrum in snare drum. The closer you get to the tip of the finger, the faster the buzz is going to be. So I'll see if I can do it with my first finger. So right now my thumb is like there, and the buzz will be like that. If I move back, it'll get more wet. Like that. Cool, so up close, you have that, further away, like it's all the way back there. Cool, so that's kind of a cool thing that I found with the thumb first finger, or with the thumb position on the finger. And again, it's a similar thing, if you read the book, it's a similar thing with the whole energy. The further up the energy goes, the quicker the rebounds and speed will be. The further back it goes, the more slow and heavy and open it will be. Cool? Generally. So same thing. Same concept. So if you ever want to use that with like... Or... Cool? Yeah. Let's see. Anything else? Oh, extended techniques. We have that thing where you have the back of your... you're basically doing the radius ulna turn again and having your thumb and the top of your... Obviously, you have to find a position where the balance and the weight distribution will be similar. So yeah. Cool. For me, I don't really use that as much because, one, I can't control it. I used it like 5 times maybe in a concert. Mostly it was probably in a Pops concert to see if I could do it. Cool. Conversely, I would do the same thing with the entire wrist. So this would be the top one, and then I would use the back, like the upstroke of the roll on the back of my hand. And that's why I don't really do, unless I really need a lot of sound that I can't get here, then I do knee fist. But other than that, cool. And again, you're just doing the same thing as the radius ulnaturn, except in this position. Cool. I don't just do, because that's a lot of this energy, which I'd rather split between two hands instead of having it do all of it. So I do one there and one there. So you can do stick control or cool. And on Instagram, if you go further down, like to my old posts, you'll find like my steps to building that technique up. It's basically from Pandero. I wish, I don't know if the Pandero's in here actually, but yeah, I should have brought it. But yeah, that's where it comes from, Brazilian tambourine. Cool. So that comes in handy for if you want to play things up or nutcracker. That way you know how to go, you know. Cool. Or if I need a lot of, and I do that, and that's a lot of energy. That's not enough, then I go, cool. And that's like, I have like 5 levels of dynamic, so yeah. So yeah, you have a little bit more energy from here and the this side of the forearm. Then you get cool. And then if you need a lot, then you put it all like in your hips. And then if you need more, then I go to the knee fist. Cool. Yeah. Knee fist, you have 3 options. 2. Yeah, on the. So you have the frame on the knee, and I would use the fleshy part of your knee, not the bone, please, because 2 reasons: it hurts, and you're using the fleshy part of your hand, so you want to keep that same color. And for there, I would probably play as close to the rim as possible, just to have a similar color. If you hear, then you hear like do instead of cool. So you want to keep that color. That's the only reason why I don't necessarily like doing knee fists, is because you almost only hear the frame and the jingles, which is fine, because that's what you want to hear in tambourine. You want to hear the jingles, but also like I want to hear the head as much as possible. So using the knee fist, I'm kind of forced to do the edge, which doesn't have a lot of tone. So that's why I try to do everything up, because I like a lot of tone. Personal preference. Do what sounds good. Yeah. And I say play like 5 to 10 minutes, and I'm doing like an hour of this. How long is this right now? I don't even know. Anyone have any questions on tambourine? Whoever's watching. Oh, and then, so yeah, you have doing it this way. Personally, if you're going to do it this way, I would probably keep it like, don't do it flat, because it puts a lot of pressure. Well, I just did it flat so you can see it. But that puts a lot of pressure on these parts of your muscles. And doing it there, you have to kind of force your forearm to be flat, especially with weight. So I would keep it as, I would avoid going all the way there and keeping it as close to your normal held position. Go. Just to avoid this crunch, okay? This again, I just want to avoid having too much pressure there, all right? too much unnecessary pressure. So I would keep it there. Conversely, if you're going to do it this way, you don't have to really worry about it because you're already in a natural that motion. And also, you also can activate and use the wrists and fingers. And in this position, I would use, like, I would play on the knee. I would actually play on the bone, but because I'm not using the rim, I wouldn't use the rim because you can't play that on the rim. So because your fingers are playing on the skin, I will play on the bone with your skin. And personally, I prefer here, just because if I need to go instead of going. This is doable though. You can do this, but again, I don't like doing that because my arm's going to be in a weird place, and then I have to switch. Cool. So those are my reasons for that. What else? I think that might be it. Any others? Oh, well, I can't do it because if you were here, I did a couple thumb rolls and then the inside of my fingernail broke. So the underside. So again, I'm not going to do it for long, but like basically you can do a figure 8 roll. I'll do it with my first finger. It's better with my middle finger. Okay, I'm not going to do it for too much longer because it's broken. Cool, so you can do figure 8s. I've never had to do that in a concert, but there is a piece, there's an opera where it's like a 40 measure long roll, and it's pianissimo, it's like that. So some people there's literally a machine that you can turn with the tambourine, so it just keeps doing this. So you can just do a thumb roll, so it does that. Basically, just does that. But you could also do like I don't know. I mean, you got to practice so you don't have like that kind of thing going on. Cool. I think you could do it with any finger, but yeah, it just takes practice. And again, I do the Brazilian thing because this keeps it stable instead of having to like work around that. I could just do it that way. Any other questions before I drop the tambourine? Yeah. Haven't done one of these with tambourine yet, so. Extended thing. That'd be, what is that, Rick? That's ring finger. I'm really bad at it. And then you have like the thing. My friend Gabe is really good at this. And my colleague Malcolm Lim is also really good at this. So I need to take a lesson from him. With tambourine, I love tambourine so much. I would learn just regular concert tambourine, but also do pandero, do Rick. Just do as many as you can, just to get a taste of the culture of the tambourine. Because all of this could be applied in some way, like just the way you hold this, like how loose you have to be to even do like. Like to do that, there's an instrument that you can do that with where it shakes this way, or you can do that. Cool. Cool. So yeah. Ooh. You get the idea. So I will practice that. And this feeling, actually, if you have this feeling, if you apply it to there, that's the same looseness of those areas that you'll feel. Just because it'll have the same thing where you have to hold it in a certain way, but you have to be loose enough where you can like do that. And that looseness is the same. It's basically the same looseness. It's just in a different. It's just in this position instead of here. You're here. Cool. All right. I hope this is helpful. Oh, I mean, the other thing is length of note, because you have the option of like lifting the tambourine to. So for longer notes, like half notes or quarters, depending on the piece, like what is it, Carnival Overture? Not Carnival. Yeah, Carnival Overture. J.B. Leclerc. The summer I worked at Interlochen, I had a lesson with my other teacher, Eric Milstein, and he started, Eric Milstein and Mark Demolakis actually mentioned this, for Carnival Overture, just to lengthen that note. Like, it's a nice touch, instead of like, you know. So, went to Interlochen, and I was like, oh, who's this J.B. Leclerc guy? And he just goes, it's so cool watching him do that. And he just kind of steps into it. I wish he had a video of him doing it. If you're watching this, please do that. But he just has this, it's just so beautiful. I love J.B. Leclerc. Amazing musician. Okay, I'm done fangirling. All right. Yeah. I hope this was helpful. And yeah. There you go. Tambourine. Yeah, season starts soon, so there won't be as many of these, but I'll try to do one as often as I can. And yeah. What else I haven't done triangle, so I guess we'll do triangle next. An hour of triangle, okay. And then we'll have to do mallets at some, 4 mallets at some point. I haven't done that at all, actually. Cool. All right, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys soon. Bye.